Hello, testing, testing. Sorry for the delay. I'm trying to get Twitter back to where it's working again. To at least it appears not great results. I'm still working on it. Hope tonight finds you well. Hope you've been having a good weekend. Sorry about missing. I just had a headache that wouldn't go away, and I just could not hold it together. Okay, this says it's live. But it will not load and it will not hit play. But it does work in a different browser, so that might just be the browser then. I accidentally hit the plus button, but it does appear as though the chat is bouncing about. Kick chat still isn't working. Why are you not working? Why are you not showing kick chat? Why is everything broken? I thought I fixed this. I actually tried to fix this. All right. So we're going to cycle DLive off and on. Then for kick, we're going to log out and then back in. And then be reminded that I need to check my emails. Okay. Kick has been logged back into. Actually, you know what? Let's completely remove the kick source and reactivate it. It is still not working. Darn it. You're supposed to be fixed. Well, I have done what I can. I'm just gonna pull up a kick chat as my alternative. Is DLive fixed? No, DLive is still offline. It's gonna be one of those nights. Cycle DLive again. See if that comes online. Okay, DLive says it's online now. Okay. Well, okay, posting to Kick works. Why doesn't DLive bounce the message back? Besides the fact that DLive is, I mean, not DLive, Kick. Besides the fact that it's just being a pain again. Well, at least Twitter chat seems to be working. If anything was not going to work, I expected it to be Twitter. So Twitter has decided to exceed expectations. While Kick has just decided to be a pain. Ah. Okay, I think everything that's going to work is working. Everything that isn't going to work, well, we are compensating for Kick at least. I have Kick chat up separately. You won't appear in the side, but I should at least be able to see you. And now I'm back to having a headache, but it's not as bad as it was. So, tonight, we're starting serious, then we'll move on to fun stuff. Just as a quick update on goings-ons, a certain league has decided to go to war with Hassan. Do not think, if you're paying attention, a certain league has decided to go to war with Hassan. Understand that this is an evil versus evil fight. They are the PETA of groups. They are not the good guys. They basically are the ones that codified calling anyone you don't like National Socialists and have been attempting to hijack the gamer sphere for a while. So understand that this is not this is not good guys versus bad guys. This is bad guys versus bad guys. So just keep that in mind as you watch these two hopefully waste millions and millions of dollars fighting each other. Let me see. What else do we have? honestly, I think that's about it. That's just things to watch out for. I don't know that there's a lot of other news or heads ups that I have or that I want to dive into besides what tonight's reaction is going to be. We will still return to Valkyria Chronicles, but tonight we have a different reaction. Come on. And it's a very serious one. So this is Unsubscribed Podcast. Buffalo Public Schools are ignoring teachers' concerns for school student safety. The Buffalo Public School
Rich, give us an
system has been doing a lot of not good things. And I'm going to attempt to give you a very quick overview on a massive subject. No, we went 0. Thank you. And a lot of not good things happening. Angry Cops, Detective High is the one responsible for bringing this up. This guy. I'm gonna try to summarize like 15 hours worth of stuff real quick. So he is a detective with Special Victims Unit, which means it's his job to stop some of the worst that humanity has to offer, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for us, because he seems to be a good person. Unfortunately, because that has got to be an awful job. And so what has been happening is he got frustrated with the fact that with the current situation and went on the Unsubscribed Podcast, which gets millions of views, in order to try to signal boost this. Because the Buffalo Public School System has been hiding abuse. They have been shutting down any talks of misconduct and horrible actions, all in the name of trying to protect their image. They have gotten caught. They have picked all of the wrong things to do. The fat electrician here has a massive binder on all the things they've done wrong. And currently they're looking at serious defamation lawsuits and things for hiding this stuff, as well as increasing pressure for a real investigation. I cannot go over everything, or else we'll just be here for those hours. But an example of some of the things that are happening is there was an attempted kidnapping of 2 students from the school. The school not only hid that this happened and denied, they refused police resources, but when the police finally found out and attempted to get the security footage, the school actually ordered the security footage to be deleted. And thankfully someone was able to sneak in and save a copy for the police and get it to them before the school deleted the security footage showing the attempted kidnapping. The school did not tell the parents. The school refused to tell the parents. It basically had to come out from the kids telling the parents later. So that's one thing. One teacher, now this is mostly administrative, and there's only a couple teachers involved, but there are a couple teachers involved. One teacher was turning the lights off in the bathroom and locking students in as a punishment. And they were like a kindergarten, first grade teacher, I think. Very young students. Thank you for the lemon, Ruby. So that was one thing that they were covering up. Let me see. What other things did they make? It's just such a list. And I want to only say things I know I can get the details on for sure. So I don't want, I don't want to just I don't want to accidentally invent new things for the school to have done that's horrible. Oh yeah. They committed what is, I'm 99% sure, is a federal felony by telling teachers that they cannot call 911 without permission. Denying emergency services is a federal crime. This is why even cell phones that don't have a SIM card and aren't activated still have a make emergency call option. Because in the United States, at least, denying the ability to call 911 for help is a huge federal felony. That's like 20 years in jail type stuff. And they were doing that, covering up stabbings and attacks. In 4 years, I think it was 4 years, this school covered up 17,000, more than 17,000 calls to police, or attempted calls to police. In 4 years. They continuing to deny investigations, saying our lawyers say we can't talk to you, so I'm not talking to you, providing no evidence, not letting them onto the school grounds, pulling the old we investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing type things. The list goes on and on and on. Fat Electrician has a you can see it there. He has a massive binder of things that they have done wrong. And it's gotten even worse because, and here's where a big problem that we're running into is the fact that, the reason he went to this podcast that gets millions of views is because, one, the news is more or less irrelevant. And two, the news has spent 10 years trying to ruin his reputation and actually lying about him. Like, he is probably going to win a lot of money from the news companies at this point, because they are actually lying about him. And basically the news threw a fit over the fact that he did not go to them in spite their severe mistreatment of him, and instead went on a podcast. And this is where we're going to get into some of the issues that I have with how this is being presented in how people see things. Among the things that they've done is they have been claiming for years that he is on the Brady list. The Brady list is a list of police officers known to lie under oath and create false reports of what happened. He is one of the good ones. He is on report for, I think, 3 things. 1 is getting in fight with a drug dealer while off duty. 1 is calling someone he's arresting fat. And I cannot remember what the 3rd one is. But none of them involve lying. And he is not on the Brady list. Fat Electrician has the entire Brady list and searched for it. He is not on the Brady list. So that is like legitimate, since they've been saying it for like 10 years, that is legitimate millions of dollars in damages that he could impose on them because of this. And when the news finally started reporting on what's going on, they did everything they could to discredit the podcast before talking about the allegations. And this is something that drives me absolutely up the wall, is this appeal to authority mentality of, you didn't present it according to our rules, therefore you're not legitimate, or your word is not worth more than my word as a member of authority. Where they are the news, they are on television, they are wearing suits and nice dresses and fancy clothes, and they're not sitting around a table in t-shirts on an internet TV show. Therefore, the news is trustworthy. We now have, a dozen different incidents of them saying it's their job to tell people what to think now. They keep getting caught saying stuff like that. How dare this podcast that gets millions of views to their couple thousand, no joke, how dare he go to them instead of the news, and how dare he do it in a way that they consider unprofessional. And I deal with this so much where so many people just dismiss people like him because it's not being presented in a way that they consider authoritative. And I had to deal with this so much when I was getting my history degree, which I eventually just walked out because this is part of it, where the mentality is, in history, it is the older you are and the more prestigious the place that you got your degree from, the more right you are, regardless of if you've just been proven wrong. New discoveries are dismissed until the old person in the room decides they're legitimate. And this is a very similar thing across the board. I deal with this on an almost daily basis of, this was not presented the quote-unquote correct way, therefore it is not legitimate until someone who does present it in the correct way presents it. And so that has been an uphill battle in spite the millions of views that this podcast gets, because those in authority have tried to use this to dismiss them. And it sounds like the lawsuits are getting going, so that's not going to happen for much longer. But that has been a big problem, is he came out and spent hours. They have talked about this for hours now in terms of what's been going on in the school system. And it took weeks to get real momentum in spite millions of people piling in behind these guys because they're a podcast. And of course, that is a problem for so many of these people. So that is the very, very short version without going into too many of the nitty-gritty details, unfortunately, in terms of what's been going on and why it's not fixed yet. Because this started weeks ago, and by all accounts, it should be fixed by now. So I don't know what's going to happen in this new clip, but we are starting from an already awful place, unfortunately. Thankfully, these guys have momentum now, but we have started from horror show.
I think 3 full weeks. We're going into the 4th. So it started off with our initial buzz, and then I went in right away to do an interview with Channel 7. They did a 27-minute long interview, and they only put up like 3 to 4 minutes of its entirety. That was it.
Yep, there we go. Starting off strong. The news does not like... And there's strong indications that the news also actually did know about this and has already buried it multiple times.
The news attacked me for about 3 or 4 days.
Now, Hai has made headlines numerous times in the past. The Attorney General's office had found Hai had been, quote, repeatedly discourteous and unprofessional.
This is ridiculous.
What is this?
This is crazy. I'm listening to all these guys burp and just be absolutely foul.
You're looking at like the White Claws on
Yeah.
the table.
And
is
so
alcohol involved here?
My
Where
first
are they?
thought is, okay, this can't actually be real.
I don't think there's ever been another case that has come out like this. It's so 2025, right? It comes out on the podcast and
Bizarre.
And then our autistic
How dare these people not be us? How dare these people not be our equals?
army decided to show them they might want to reconsider coming after somebody that might be looking out for the welfare of children in the city of Buffalo, especially when we have a binder worth of information that we got just from OSINT, just from open source intelligence gathering.
Just wait until those FOIA requests start coming back.
Oh, yes. So
I hope they don't, so I can sue them. Actually,
it'll be great. So Nick starts doing the FOIA requests. I start getting calls from different news agencies. I'm not going on the local news anymore at all, unless it's the radio with David Bellavia, because he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's amazing.
David Bellavia's got a radio show on.
Yeah, see, think about that for a sec. When the news finally got involved, they did everything they could to kill the story for all intents and purposes.
WBEN.
Who's the other guy? Ben, I think, too.
Ben's on Channel 2.
Is he?
Yep.
But he's been doing good.
Or no, Ben Tees from the Buffalo News.
Nate Benson is on Channel 2. He's doing great. And then Ben T is with Buffalo News. He's also doing great.
Yeah, Ben's been very funny to watch, even just on Twitter or X or whatever. That's been very fun.
That's the one with the autistic army. We're like, let him through. Stop. They all stand to the side and
Do not touch him.
Yeah, careful. He's a hero.
they're all standing at parade rest, double saluting.
So after the first week of like this onslaught of bullshit on my coming towards me and me bearing the brunt of it, and then our army pushing back and saying, wait a second, why are you doing this? We should be looking into this. You shouldn't be shooting the messenger, even though he has a fantastic mug, which you can now get at Bunker Branding. And shirt.
Shirt.
Went down the wrong pipe. So then
Shirt.
went down the wrong pipe. So then Channel 2 special investigative reporter actually did a little bit of a deep dive and discovered that since 2021, there have been over 17,000 police calls.
Oh,
to the
there we
city
go.
of Buffalo schools,
17,772.
to be exact. And about 54% of them fall under miscellaneous or information only, which is fine. If you get like a school board or like, I don't know, like a school door was left open and it sounded the alarm and you're like, all right, miscellaneous or alarm. It actually would go under an alarm call. Well, I stated originally that the schools were using these miscellaneous calls in order to cover up incidents of abuse on the children from either child on child or a child coming in and making a disclosure to the schools. Well, what do you know? Out of the past 4 major incidents that have gotten tons of news coverage from the City of Buffalo public school system, one of them being a stabbing or a shooting at McKinley, one of them I think was a stabbing. There was an overdose incident and something else.
The teacher,
and the kidnapping.
The teacher gave the kids THC gummies, and the alleged kidnapping that he's now getting charged for. Those were all school other.
The crazy one was the one with the teacher that warned them about that door. They're like, hey, students are taking knives through this door.
The stabbing in Riverside.
Yeah, they're like, no, that's not a problem. Student gets stabbed from a knife that was snuck in through that door, and then they denied it.
Oh, I have the footage. Yeah. So in the footage, the teacher actually.
There we go.
wrote
I
up
haven't
a
seen a
thing,
lot of the
and he's
footage.
I looked into him. He's the union rep for that school. Okay, so he wrote up a thing like, hey, I've had students bring in large knives into the school. They get them through school security because these schools have metal detectors or some screening process. They're getting them in through this door that's not locked and has a bad door. And he wrote every school board member and sent it to him repeatedly for, I believe it was like 19 months that he kept pushing it.
God.
Was the reply, you bitch?
He apparently in their process, you have to push it up the chain of command. And there's 3 levels to get something approved. The first level was denied. And that's just like your direct administrator. He denied it. It's like, no, it's not a problem. He appealed it and pushed it up to the school board, and the school board denied it. And then he was still pushing to have it reviewed a 3rd time, and then it's on the superintendent. Between the 2nd and 3rd time, the stabbing at Riverside happened. That he was trying to get the issue fixed before it became a potentially fatal issue. And then they magically approved it on the 3rd iteration after somebody had to get stabbed.
Which is what he complains about. He says, this is reactionary. Why are we reactionary?
Well, he calls it, because that recording was before the stabbing, or right after. And he goes, you guys had to wait until somebody got stabbed, just like I predicted. And sure enough, somebody got stabbed. Now you're going to approve it.
Yep.
And then the school board member has the balls to stand up there and be like, you never told us about this.
Okay.
So starts
guess we're not
getting a
getting the
screaming
footage.
match with him.
Yeah. And like all the other
you.
teachers give him a standing ovation as he's walking away. So I'll get the editor of the video. You can go ahead and play it. It's like 2 or 3 minutes. It's crazy.
I just want to be clear that all the time
Okay, we are getting the footage.
Fantasyland world, when students at Riverside are getting stabbed, there's fights there every single day. 911 is called on a regular basis, and no one has even come into the school and had a meeting like this and talked to parents and talked to teachers and talked to our students and said, how can we protect? Excuse me, this is my time. This is my time,
You're
sir.
going to receive more time, but
This is my time, sir.
If you would have came to me and told me a situation about a knife, at that point, I would have called the authorities and took the proper action with the supervisor.
Know what you asked me?
Hurd,
I can refresh your
Mr.
memory
Hurd,
if you want.
Mr. Hurd, Mr. Hurd, the speaker has the floor.
I told you about the knife.
The speaker has the floor.
Thank you.
I almost never, in any of these kinds of things, see someone try to enforce saying, no, we have a rule this person has time, they're allowed to talk. That surprises me that that someone is saying no, speaker has the floor. I am so used to committee members or board members or whoever it is in these kinds of meetings, council members, whatever, just being like, nope, we are going to talk over this person's time, run out their time, and let them leave. So someone actually saying speaker has the floor is a shock, especially in this given situation. Whoever that is has my interest.
I filed a grievance 19 months ago, and it was very detailed. In that grievance, I talked about how a student brought a knife in the side door. It's written in the grievance, which I sent to you all. Guess what? The student who, the non-student who stabbed the student in our school, guess what door they came in? That same door. And they were in the building that day, and no one even told us. The DA had to tell us on the news. We had to do our own investigation. So there's a student with most likely a weapon in our building, and no one's sharing that with us. I'm going to say this. This district has done nothing. And I told you, what's it going to take? Someone getting stabbed or shot to have someone come in the building? And that's exactly what it takes. Because no one has lifted a finger for security at Riverside High School. It's a dog and pony show every single time. You send in people for a week, it disappears, and then it's a disaster again. These kids and these teachers deserve better. And if you can't do the job, then all of you should have the dignity to resign and let someone else do it.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno.
So we go to that where Channel 2, the investigative reporter, pulls out the stats and says, hey, wait a second. Look at these numbers. These are concerning. These 4 major cases were all intentionally mislabeled as something other than what they actually were, whether it be stabbing, shooting, overdose, etc. Then, shit, I lost my train of thought. What happened after that? There was the 21 thing, and then, oh yeah, then that's right. Then the guy that did the attempted kidnapping of the 2 kids.
When was that? When was that?
Well, going back to the stabbing at Riverside, I believe, from what I can tell, there's been independent third-party investigations launched for the Riverside stabbing and for the shooting at McKinley in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of those independent third-party investigations launched by the school board have been released to the public or the Buffalo PD. Or the legal system.
Who's the third party in these situations?
Whoever they pick.
Yeah.
Right now it's open. Any law firm can get on their website right now and apply to be the third party investigator. And I believe with the Riverside stabbing, I looked into it, and the law firm that they did then cited, assumingly they found results that they didn't like. So the law firm's like, well, this is actually attorney-client privilege, so we don't have to give this to you.
Is that their workaround so they can just do it
Yeah, so
that
this is a
way?
workaround. They're going
Anytime when someone says we're running an internal investigation, this is what's going to happen. It's not just this school, though, you know, it's nice to have it out in the public. Whenever they say, oh, well, we're going to run an internal investigation, this is exactly what happens. They hire a law firm to do an investigation. Maybe the law firm actually investigates, but they run attorney-client privilege and never release anything. And it just turns, and it's just that generic, we have investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing. And that is the end of it most of the time.
They're gonna say, "Oh, we're gonna do a third-party independent investigation, and then once we have the results, if we don't like them, we're gonna claim it's attorney-client privilege and never mention it to the public, and the public's gonna forget about it by then."
This doesn't require an investigation.
Yep.
It's just fact.
Yeah,
is the crazy part. What are you gonna look into? It's gonna take you a afternoon if you're not clinically retarded.
Right. Yeah. And they had a 4.5-hour meeting the other day trying to appoint a special investigator. 4.5 hours, couldn't figure out who they were even gonna have do the investigation.
By the way, from somebody inside the schools, quote, BPS General Counsel Nate Kuzma, who works at the same firm as the former DA who opened his mouth, who's full of shit, has made an attorney-client privilege so that it could never be shared intentionally. That was the end result of that one.
So that's one thing to look out for or really stress moving forward is not letting that happen as they hire a new one.
Yeah, they'll have somebody investigate
They're
it.
intentionally not going to hire a new one. I can't prove it. I can't prove it with evidence, but I have multiple people that have all basically said, well, the superintendent's retiring in June and she has 3 or 4 friends on the school board And they're basically going to stall this until she gets her good retirement, and then they'll let it go to an investigation.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So they're just trying to drag this out as long as possible to protect their buddy. Then they're going to drag it out as long as possible.
Who's the superintendent?
The one that's really upset that she had to shut down her social media and ignore everybody coming to her with concerns.
And who's going to be next appointed? Because you knew who's next in line,
so the
which
next
sets
guy
something to
getting
watch
appointed,
out for.
I've heard from multiple sources he's not great either. I can pull up his name.
Well, he's friends in that group, so he's already conditioned for this.
Nick
one male in the board, isn't
is the most terrifying
Tanya
person in
Williams
this
Knight.
at this round table.
Wait, I got a hold of the teachers union rep. I sent him an email because one thing the news did that was really shitty is they took the one snippet where you were talking about allegedly one teacher in particular was putting kids inside of a bathroom with the lights off.
Yes.
One teacher is what we said.
Correct.
The news then portrayed it to the teachers union president, Richard Nigro, that we were saying this about all teachers.
Which we're not.
And he was upset, obviously, like that's fair.
I am so sick of the news and these freaking hatchet jobs. They keep getting caught. They keep actually lying, not just allegedly, actually lying like this. And like I said, saying that he's on the Brady list, and this is actual lying. And then they sit there and wonder why no one trusts them anymore, and why they're a dying industry. And these podcasts get more viewers and more trust than they do. This is why. There is no neutrality in the news. They're not even attempting to be fair or do their jobs.
If you think that we're saying all Buffalo teachers are throwing small children in a cage, which we're not saying at all.
We were specific
and he's like,
on that.
Hi,
you're
Blue
painting
Kitty.
everybody with a broad brush.
Don't
Right, but they're
worry,
just
the rest
clipping
of the stream
couple
will be
second
less
segments
serious.
out and portraying it.
On another podcast called Black Rifle Coffee Podcast, High described how some teachers and teacher aides.
Also, I love how they do these things. And look, this is a 4K video. I love how they do these things, and the news is like, we're going to use a potato to record the screen of the interview and then use that to broadcast. And it's in like 144p. We're talking about a disaster in the Buffalo school system, Blue Kitty. This has been going on for weeks. This is a shorter video, so we're actually reacting to it. I've mentioned going over to the Unsubscribe podcast to watch their videos on this before. It's really important that the news continues to spread. I understand I am a tiny channel to the millions that these guys get, but I've already told someone about this who had never heard about it before. So maybe if we get a second person, if I can get 2 people to know, that's 2 more people that didn't know about it before. So I'm doing good, I think.
Use school bathrooms for so-called timeout rooms.
The Buffalo Public School will put children in the bathroom and turn off the lights and then put their foot against the door so the kid can't get out. Where's the timeout room? Oh, it's the bathroom. Timeout room is the bathroom? Yeah. What do you do in the timeout room? Well, my teacher and the teacher's aide, the Buffalo Public School, will put children in the bathroom and turn off the lights.
Wow,
So-
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Geez, the news doing that to 2 people who are trying to better the environment for people in their community? Brandon, who would know what that feels like?
This is why I
Reminder that the news, when Brandon was running for election, the news ran dozens of hatchet jobs on him, trying to make him look like a national socialist. Dozens. He was running against someone that had the support of both the Republican and Democratic Party. So, wow.
think that media trust is at an all-time high.
Oh.
And it's a smart move on their part, because right now all the information I have hundreds of teachers that I've talked to and interviewed and everything, and they're the ones that are giving me all the information, telling me what FOIA requests to fill out. Like, they're the ones that are helping. By and large, all of these teachers are great people trying to do what's best for these kids, and they all feel that their hands are being tied behind their back. They're not allowed to do what needs to be done to keep these kids and themselves safe. And the administration is intentionally doing it. I mean, you're 2 decades into your career at this point, and you've never been written up in 20 years.
Never. All of a sudden, instantly. Getting called down to the administrator's office. And the odd thing about these write-ups, they weren't anything. They had no backing. It was just to intimidate me. I mean, it just got crazy. I just pulled it up before I got on with you, and I have this document. It's like every other day we are getting called down. And I got to the point where my phone would ring in my classroom, and I would get sick and I would puke. Because I would literally go to the bathroom and puke because I was being tormented every day and supposed to teach kids at the same time. And it makes you physically ill because I'm not used to treating people this way, ever. And I'll tell you what, it started then, and up until a month and a half ago, it has not stopped. They have not stopped retaliating against me, and it's almost gotten worse.
So what they're doing is they're coming out and making it seem like, oh, we just want to burn everything to the ground and go after these teachers. We don't. Like, the teachers are great. It's just not even all of the administration. Some members in the administration and the culture that they've created are not safe, and it doesn't allow these teachers to do their jobs.
Yeah, that was a very short one, but yeah, please. Unsubscribe podcast, Buffalo School System. It is an absolute nightmare what has been going on there. It is wild how... I mean, I'm from a small town. I understand how you get people that are in control that just do whatever they want. But how the police department can be against the school and the school can't do anything, that is a new one for me. Normally when there's a problem, the police department's on the side of whoever, but everything that I've seen says that Angry Cops, Detective High, is not on his own on this. The police department has taken his side. The police department has reaffirmed multiple times he's not on the Brady list. They would never do that. That's not what he's gotten written up for. And so maybe I'm wrong, but that's at least the impression I've gotten, that it is currently the police department trying to protect these kids and the school system absolutely refusing to do so. They didn't mention it. I'm going to mention another incident. Well, they briefly mentioned it, I think, where they mentioned that a teacher gave several students edibles, which were like 100 times more than even an adult is supposed to have in their system. And then these kids, went into shock and collapsed, and they wouldn't let the EMTs into the school. The EMTs were trying to find some way into school on their own because the administration was refusing to allow them into the school. And then I think, I'd need to go back and double check. I think then once they were able to get into the school, they wouldn't tell them why the students had collapsed, and they wouldn't let them remove the students and take them to the hospital. And if I remember correctly, it took the police showing up and being like, we're taking the kids to the hospital, try to stop us. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I think that's how that story ended. It is a nightmare, and I highly recommend you go and watch all the big stuff. I highly recommend that you help spread the word so that more people can see and know about this. It is really important that this gets out there more and more, because this is a huge thing. Okay, this is Unsubscribed Clips. That's only 23,000 views, but the podcast does legitimately get millions. And this, like I said, this is a serious situation going on, and they really, really need public support because if there isn't public support behind this, they will just make it disappear again. So I will not dwell on this anymore. I just saw something that was shorter compared to the full podcast things. Figured, we're going to do some reaction to it and try to help signal boost. Blue Kitty, it sounds like this is the first you're hearing about it. I have now for sure managed to get it into 2 new people's view, which I am pleased to have given at least a tiny signal boost to this. And, just one person who doesn't know, spread the word. Please. This whole thing about be the change you want to see. Well, protecting kids is a good change. I can be that. I am okay with being part of that change. So that's that whole thing. I can see other things I am going to want to react to, but I don't want to. You know what? I'll actually leave this up. Maybe we'll do a second react after the break, because I am tired and have a mild headache, not near as bad as Friday. So maybe we'll do that and have a little bit more of a slower day. I'm not going to do another reaction right now. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I'm going to say this. I'm not the world's biggest RFK fan, but if I have to pick between him and Dr. Mike, I'm going to pick him. Dr. Mike is not someone we're going to trust here. That's just a quick unrelated thing. We're going to move on to some stuff that is not near as serious. D&D released a new Unearthed Arcana. I need to make this so that we can read it. So, on to far less serious things. Holy smokes. Unearthed Arcana for the 2025-2024 updated Dungeons & Dragons. The Scion. We finally get a new class. Now, this is playtest. This is not technically final. Now, I've already read over this, so we're not going to go word for word down the whole thing. But I do want to go over this and talk a little bit about a homebrew that I'm kind of working on. We'll see why in a second. So, what is inside? We have the Scion, which is the first new class since the Artificer. The Scion, we use magic to the power of the mind. This is basically, the psychic power kit stuff that you get from Mind Flayers. And I'd use another example, but there really isn't one. It's there are Mind Flayers and that's it. So we're finally getting a class, and hopefully with this, more things that actually do some psionic stuff. Technically, some of my aberration type stuff also falls into this category, but it's still very, very limited. So this comes with 4 subclasses: the Metamorph, Psywarper, Psykinetic, and the Telepath. Because this is the psychic class. You are a psychic type Pokemon if you play this. It also comes with some wild talents, which are origin feats. According to the new 2024 rules, everyone gets to start with a feat. The fact that Lucky is one of the things you can start with is wild, because Lucky is an incredibly powerful feat. Even with the nerf 2024 version, it's still an insanely powerful feat, especially for Halfling, where you get 2 different Lucky traits. Holy smokes. The wild talents here are really cool, and I really like them, and they're really useful even outside of Scions. And this is just your warning of, hey, this is a playtest. This is not technically the final rules. Some description, which I just gave you. Here is where we get started. It's a D6 hit die, which means you are squishy. It is an intelligence-based class. This is basically Wizard Light in many ways. Skill proficiencies, standard issue. Weapon proficiencies, simple only, no armor. Starting equipment, you know the drill. So, yeah, and level 1 and multi-class is pretty much the standard issue. Now here's where things start to get interesting. Is you only get 2 cantrips. Most full casters start you with 4. However, there is a caveat to this, to where you're still technically getting 4 cantrips. It's just you can only pick 2, and this is where this class gets interesting. You get 2 to 4 instead of 4 to 6 cantrips. We will go over this in a second. You know the second most number of spells of the full casters. Wizards start with 6 and get 2 every level. Everyone else starts with 1 and more or less gets 1 every level. They end with 15. Wizards end with a buttload, especially if you manage to find any spell scrolls or other spell books, because wizards can then copy down spells from those as well. So wizards can end with almost every spell in the game, depending on how things go. But yeah, starting with 4 instead of 2, and ending with 22 instead of 15, that is a lot more spells. Same standard array of number of spell slots, but there's something interesting here, which is it's not really addressed. There's nothing to see down here, so I'm just going to leave it up here. Every class, especially by the 2024 rule set, has the ability to regenerate spell slots. In some way, shape, or form, they have some kind of arcane restoration ability. Even the warlock finally gets, here's your extra spell slot. Warlocks are still screwed when it comes to magic, okay? You're still spending most of the game with only 2 spell slots, and when you get with your new regeneration that doesn't involve a short rest, you still only get 1. Everyone else is like, you get half of your spell slots, or half of your levels or whatever back. Or you're just or you're a sorcerer playing spell point version and are nuts. What you see is what you get. You do not regenerate any spell slots. Instead, you're going to have these... there's my mouse. Instead, you're going to have these psionic die. Now, but here's where things get different, though, when I said you only pick 2 cantrips. You get Mage Hand for free, which you can cast basically as you see fit, which is the thing with this class. No materials unless it's something that absolutely needs a material that it anchors to work. No saying anything. This is literal wave your hand and stuff happens. You might as well be subtle spelling. You are immune to the silent spell. Which, it's a psychic class. That makes sense. Telekinesis takes Mage Hands even better, because a lot of people don't realize Mage Hand is a visible hand that floats around normally. Scion Mage Hands are invisible. It's basically just telekinesis. You also get this telekinetic propel, which allows you to push or pull things. And you get telepathy, which allows you to connect to and communicate with someone. And so here's something that is interesting. A lot of these telepathic options either take spell slots or have other caveats. This does not require that the person you are telepathically connecting to be a willing participant. Now, it is very range limited. 5 feet unless you spend your psionic energy die. But by default, unlike most of the other telepathic capabilities, you do not require a willing participant, and or the other caveat is usually you can say words to them, they cannot say words to you. This does not have that. This is just a telepathic connection to whoever you pick. That is interesting. And a good way to drive people insane if you want to be mean. We'll go to the psionic discipline in a sec. Psionic modes by default are kind of eh. So as a bonus action, you pick a mode. You can use it twice. Get more in a long rest. There's another regen around here somewhere. I forget what it is. Attack mode. You ignore resistance to psychic damage. Whoop-de-doo. And you can spend one psionic energy die to reroll some of the damage. So if you get a bunch of ones, you can reroll and hope you get a few less ones. It is an okay ability, but unless you're doing something that's like 16 d4 damage, it's kind of a wimpy, okay, cool. The psychic resistance also is kind of like, but why? Because psychic is not resisted very often unless you're actually fighting stuff like mind flayers. And then defense mode is just giving you a little bit of ability. You resist psychic damage now. Again, mind flayers, as well as giving you a save on caster stats. And that is about it. And these only last for a minute, so you get 2 minutes in a day. The subclasses we'll get to. ASI is usual. Here we go. Psionic Restoration. Instead of getting your spells back, like other classes now have, you get your psionic energy die back. What they do? Let's see. Psionic Surge lets you trade hit die for... Here we are. Give up a hit die, get another minute on one of your psionic modes. Or if you're rolling the hit die for something, you get to count it as a 4 or an up instead. Then you get nothing till level 19, which is the epic boon that everyone gets at level 19. And then at Enkindled Life Force, spend a psionic energy die. And when you expend a psionic energy die, you can spend 2 hit die to roll more psionic energy die. Again, the psionic energy is like, okay, you had a great idea. It's kind of eh. The disciplines, though, are where things really, really get interesting. And so while the psionic energy die are kind of like eh, at least in the core execution, here is where we're having fun. You get 2 of these, and then to start, you get 2 more at level 10, and was it 2 more at 17, I think? There are... Well, anyways, we're not going to worry about it too much. Biofeedback is the big one here, because this class has the potential to actually be a decent spell sword magic melee type class. But the issue that I've seen a lot of other people complaining about is how squishy you are. Biofeedback is something I haven't seen anyone else zero in on for fixing your squishiness. When you cast a Scion spell from the Necromancy or Transmutation School, expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. You gain a total number of temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier minimum of 1. Prestidigitation is a transmutation spell. So you can just spam Prestidigitation, and you start with 4d6 psionic energy die. Rippy has noted that this actually turns it around, makes you way too tanky. Because there's no time limit and there's no cap. This just happens. Every other source of temporary hit dice has one of the two. Either it's a time limit, usually an hour, or till your next rest, or it says you may not have temporary hit points from more than one source. You can, if you have a week of downtime, rules as written, you can at the end of the day spam Prestidigitation, just like warm or reflavor your food, make a little spark, whatever, and load up on hit points, and they will stay there until they're worn down. Then you cast anything else that gives you temporary hit points. I would recommend Armor of Agathis, which you can get as a Scion thanks to those origin feats. We will come back. We will see that later, but one of them gives you a free cast of Armor of Agathis, which is 5 more temporary hit points, plus when someone hits you, they take 5 damage. Well, Armor of Agathis, 5 more hit points, and you can just count those last 5 hit points as when you get worn down. So it's just every time you get hit until then, you're doing 5 cold damage to whatever is attacking you, while you're burning through 100 temporary hit points that you built up with biofeedback. I'm with Rippy. There needs to be limits to this, but rules as written, this is a massive tank capability as long as you have time to prepare. And that is the one limiting factor of this, is in a big, long dungeon crawl, a long slog, any kind of campaign where you're not getting a lot of downtime, and you need to spend your psionic energy die and you keep taking hits, that is the big balancing factor to this, because otherwise you have a lot of time to build up a massive pool of temporary hit points. So the big complaint I've seen from a bunch of different sources, that being a melee caster, you're still too squishy, this takes care of that, unless you have a DM that realizes how broken it is. Next, you have Destructive Thoughts. When you cast a Scion spell from the Conjuration or Evocation School, and a creature you can see succeeds on a saving throw against that spell, you can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. So you can do a little extra damage to someone who manages to pass a check. Yay. It is made a little bit better, though, by the fact that most of those kinds of spells, when they pass a check, they still take half damage. So you're doing a little more than half damage when they pass the check. So that is, not near as exciting or broken as biofeedback, but not as wimpy as, oh, you only did that little bit of damage. You are adding on to damage already being done. Devilish Tongue, when you take an influence action, persuasion, intimidation, deception, you can expend 1 psionic energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the ability check. That is going to be very character and campaign dependent, but is potentially quite useful. Especially, despite being an intelligence-based class, if you end up as the face of the group, because you don't have a bard, warlock, or sorcerer to draft for the job. Ego Whip. When a creature provokes an opportunity attack from you, which is a little DM dependent, you can take a reaction. Devilish Tongue. It's me. When you can take a reaction to roll 1 psionic energy die and force the creature to make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, You reduce their speed by 10 feet and subtract the number rolled from the next damage roll it makes before the end of its next turn. I like this. This is not the only one that does it, but the die is expended only if the target fails the saving throw. There are way too many things that are like, sucker save, doesn't matter, you expended your resource. I like that you've got a couple of these in here that say, well, if you fail, then we're not going to still take your die from you, because you still only have a couple of them. Now, Ego Whip is very situational. There's not a whole lot of disengage and running away in a lot of campaigns. So it's a bit of why when it comes to the opportunity attack, but it can still happen. So that it's not like it's useless, but it's very situational. Expanded awareness. When you take the search action, perception, investigation, you can expend one psionic energy die, roll it, and add the number to the ability check. Given perception is the stat to roll all stats, and having a poor perception can get you killed very quickly, this is an important one. This is a really, really important one. Id Insinuation. When you cast a Scion spell from the enchantment or illusion school, it forces a creature to make a saving throw, Charm Person being an easy example. You can expend 2 psionic energy die and roll one of them. One target of the spell you can see subtracts the number rolled from its saving throw against the spell. This is another very situational one, but if you tend to use a lot of Charm Person, Suggestion, general control type spells or deceptions, because it says illusions as well, the ability to try to keep people in whatever that is can be very, very important. Though this is very specific to your playstyle. An errant aim is huge. Huge, huge, huge. I cannot stress that this is another super duper important one, especially if you're going for the melee build. When you make an attack roll against a creature and miss, you can roll 1 psionic energy die and add the number to the attack roll, potentially turning the miss into a hit. And only if it causes the attack to hit, the die is expended. That is huge, especially at low levels, for getting some reliable damage out and into a target, and not just sitting there being like, oh my gosh, I've missed for the 5th turn in a row and I only get 1. And again, being able to keep any failed die rolls and try again is huge. Huge, huge, huge. Ego Whip is the most situational one on this list, in my opinion. It doesn't keep them from running. It doesn't delete a lot of damage. It is a save. True. Psionic Backlash. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll. You can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die. Roll 2 more. So, does that mean... Hold on. Well, compared to Inerrant Aim, a lot of things don't measure up. Hold on. So, you roll 2, but do you keep the 2? So you've only expended 1 for this? I think that's what it is. Subtract the number rolled on each die from the total. In addition, so that is a damage reduction, followed by forcing them to make a wisdom saving throw. And if they fail, the target takes psychic damage equal to the damage you reduced by. Okay. I'm going to assume that only expends 1 of them, and you're just using the other 2 to be like, what is the actual number? So it's not like I have 4 die and I just wasted 3 of them. I'm going to assume that's only expending 1. The Psionic Backlash is a good one, particularly if you're taking hits, because it gives you a little extra tank and allows you to retaliate and do damage. Psionic Guards. Until the start of your turn, at the start of your turn, you expend 1 psionic energy die. Note this doesn't take an action or reaction, or a bonus action. Only expends 1, yeah, that's what I would roll to. Until the start of your next turn, You have immunity to the charmed and frightened conditions and advantage on intelligence saving throws. If you are already charmed or frightened, the condition ends on you. This is very situational. Again, but it is important to have some kind of defense, especially if we're sitting here. Oh, well, we're going after Mind Flayers. This is the Mind Flayer one. Swift Precognition is another huge one. When you cast a Scion spell from the Abjuration or Divination school, with a casting time of an action, you can expend a number of psionic energy die to change the casting time to a bonus action. Archfey commands you to... Okay, that's fair. Dealing with Fey things, also huge. There are 2 cantrips that you can use with this. Which means you will only spend 1 die total, because cantrips are 0th level spells. Blade Ward, which the new Blade Ward is for the next minute. Every time someone rolls an attack against you, roll a d4 and reduce that from their roll, making it better than the old Blade Ward, but not great for Swift Precognition. The big one is True Strike, which has been changed in the 2024 rules. The old True Strike was awful, absolutely nightmare, completely worthless. Why would you ever use this? The new True Strike is actually really, really good. Take a weapon that you can use a weapon and attack. You use your spellcasting modifier instead of that weapons modifier to make this attack. So you're using intelligence here instead of strength or dexterity. And you can change the damage typing to radiant instead of piercing, slashing, or bludgeoning, which is really, really big for attacking things that have resistance or even immunity to those. So you can attack werewolves with True Strike. There's a lot of evil things are just weak to radiant anyways, or radiant is like permanent damage to something that regens. And as an attack cantrip, the damage increases as you level up, allowing you to add even more dice to this attack. This is huge, because with Swift Precognition, you can do 2 True Strikes in a turn. One on your action and one on your bonus action. It's going to cost you a dice to do it, but you just made 2 attacks right there as a caster. Or, of course, you can cast a big spell and then True Strike. But that's huge. And I think that that's way more important, using it to get in like True Strikes, rather than spending a ton of die on one big double hit. Unless you're in a fight where it's like, no, we just need to drop 2 nukes in a turn. And admittedly, with only Abjuration or Divination spells as an option, you don't get a lot of other things that are really worth it. Like, let's see, level 1, we have Comprehend Languages and Detect Magic. Why? Identify, also not useful. Mage Armor, Mage Armor can be important if you're like caught off guard, but is otherwise kind of, but why? Speak with Animals, whoop-de-doo. No. Transmutation, Blindness, Deafness, that could be useful. But it is situational, but it does give you advantage on whoever it is. Detect Thoughts, no points. Enhance Ability and Enlarge Reduce are very situational. They can be useful, but you're not really building around them too much. Well, I guess enlarge, reduce, enlarge on yourself, hit big thing really hard. Heat metal. Again, this is like if you're stacking 2 spells in a turn. Heat metal, is already like after your first action to cast, it is your bonus action anyways, I think, if I remember correctly. Locate animals or plants, locate object. Mind Spike is maybe double Mind Spike. You're already burning through a lot of spells at this point though. See invisibility, kind of pointless. Dispel magic, only if you really need it now. Fly, again, only if you really need it now. Intellect Fortress, no, probably not. Non-detection, probably not. Sending, probably not. Telekinetic Crush, maybe. Though again, these are all, you're doing nukes. Why? Tongues, I don't think so. Mind Whip to set up a better sucker save. I can't remember what level Mind Whip is. Oh, that is level 2. Okay. That's enchantment. You can't use it. It's abjuration or divination only. Now, you can always homebrew that these do not have these specific spell limitations. But we're looking at it at the moment, rules as written. But yeah, you can see that each of these are taking, this is 6 die in order to fire off one of these as that. So unless you absolutely need it, cast your spell and then spend 1 die to True Strike them. True. Okay, that's fair. Mind Whip as the first thing, then bonus action your sucker save. You're still very limited though, but that's fair. Now you got Scion subclasses. Says the Metamorph, which is honestly, I see what they're going for. It's a neat concept. The execution is like this is very one note. This is very, very one note. Okay, so you get some extra spells, which are the physical shape-shifting type stuff. You can turn yourself into weapons. You have the Bone Blade, which is a bone. They're basically organic mantis blades from Cyberpunk. Blade comes out of arms, stabs, stab, stab. Woo. You do automatically get advantage, though, if you're attacking someone that an ally is next to. Flesh Maul does more damage, and it gives someone disadvantage on the next Strength or Constitution saving throw. And it's just turn fist into a bigger fist and hit something. And Viscera Launcher. You are a Tyrannid. Is the best explanation I can give. You do ranged acid damage as a hole opens up in your hand or arm or whatever, and you fire out a glob of at something. This works, but it's not as fancy as you'd think. The big thing that this benefits from is that you can use True Strike with these attacks. But it's kind of like after you get past the cool flesh warping capability, it sort of starts to become, okay, sure. Extend limbs. Your reach extends by 5 feet. That can be useful. Your speed increases by 5 feet. Oh, excuse me. You get all of these. I thought it was or. I stand corrected. You get all of these for a minute. And when you cast a spell that has a range of touch, make the spell's range 10 feet. Okay. So that's a bit of a concerning mental image, but I guess it works. Especially since you're not picking from one, you're getting all of them at once. Level 6 is the requisite extra attack. So if you take precognition, 3 true strikes, level 6 is quickened healing when you cast Cure Wounds. Expend 2 psionic energy die to change the time to a bonus action. And use one of them to heal even more. Though, honestly... Oh, wait, no, you don't get Healing Word, do you? Okay, never mind then. So you get to Cure Wounds, and you get a more potent Cure Wounds. So suddenly that is a bit more useful. Though as I was starting to go down, for a bonus action heal, Healing Word has better range and is already a bonus action. Yeah, Cure Wounds is function... You make a point about the range touch. It's possible you could argue True Strike with a melee weapon and or your arm blade / maul. Because that would technically be a range of touch. Also, I don't think you get Shocking Grasp as a... Nope. You do not get... you do not get other range of touch. Yeah, it would have to be True Strike with their melee weapon. Mutable Form. You can now extend your limbs for 10 minutes. And pick one other new effect to go with it. Stony Epidermis. Advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. And you pick a damage type to have resistance to, which is half damage. Superior Stride, when you aren't wearing armor, which you can't anyways, and you take the dash action. Oh, then you can take the dash action as a bonus action, and have a climbing and swim speed equal to your regular speed. For those who don't know, most races are going to be like half speed for those. And Unnatural Flexibility, +2 to AC. Move through a space as narrow as 1 inch. And spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints or just get out of a grapple. This is a very situational one-note subclass. It really, really is. And then finally you have Life-Bending Weapons. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your organic weapon, and expend one you can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. Each creature of your choice in a 10-foot emanation originating from the hit... No, sorry. From you, excuse me. Regains hit points equal to the number rolled plus intelligence, and pick a creature, probably the thing you just hit, to take necrotic damage equal to the same. So look. It's a neat idea. It's a neat concept. It's very one note. 99% of people are going to be playing this. They're going to be playing the same character with different lore. It's I'm in the middle of making my own alternative. It's going to play off of the Biomancer, but have more variety and not be a straight Biomancer. I hit you, you explode, and everyone is like healed by the explode. Pretty much. It will all right now. What I have is that you will be getting with each of your level abilities. So 3, 6, 10, and 14, a single permanent steel racial ability from a race that you are not. No duplicates. In one of them, probably 10, you will also get a pool of racial abilities that you must fill up yourself through some type of contact. I haven't figured out all the details with other races. You will be able to expend a psionic die, in order to use one of those abilities temporarily. So it's like you're shaping yourself to whatever that is temporarily to do it. This will give you a lot more variety. You'll get you'll be able to choose between magic and martial related options. It's still you shape-shifting and bioforming around other things. And obviously it has other abilities that need to be stacked on with it. But that is the basis of it, because to try to keep it from being very one note. Yes, I'm reusing abilities I've already figured out, but that is the easiest way to give player a lot of variety that I've been able to figure out at least, and still be able and still, have, not have to reinvent the wheel, basically. One of the things that I do want to add in is that this will also be based on the primordial mass that we had before. It is not a host-based primordial mass ability, though it does involve consuming and using as fuel primordial mass, where it will give you the ability to shift your permanent racial abilities based on this. But we need to come up with a good cost for that and stuff, and limitations. But it will basically be a controlled evolution type subclass when I finish with it. And I am open to ideas if anyone has anything that they might want to add or see from that. But that is one of at least 2 subclasses that I want to do for Scion. This one is based around using it as a fuel for evolution. I do also want to do one that's based around the host for primordial mass, though I do not yet have good ideas for it, so suggestions are also welcome there. Next is the Psi Warper, which is probably of the base abilities. It's up there for possibly my favorite. And honestly, I kind of favor the Psi Warper for the melee class over the Metamorph, which is really telling you how meh I think the Metamorph is. So you get extra spells again. You get a free Misty Step. And it's interesting that you can cast it for free. You can cast it using your spell slots. Or you can cast it using Psionic Energy Die. And if you use a Psionic Energy Die, no actions required. You are a teleport spammer. Your telekinetic propel now lets you teleport up to 30 feet instead of just push or pull. And that's about it for your first round of abilities. The teleport spam in particular is like really cool and I like, obviously. And it can be enhanced. Well, I'll tell you how I would use this once we go over the rest of the class. Warp Space. Cast the Shatter spell. Expend 1 psionic die. Increase its sphere to 20 feet. And cause everything to be pulled towards the center of the sphere. Someone else has already mentioned this idea of cast it into the air, drop them, do damage, and leave them lying on the ground. I believe Shatter is an action spell. Yeah, it's got to be an action spell. So then you go up and you use your True Strike to hit them with advantage while they're on the ground. Or whatever other speed boosted ability that you want to use. Which is part of the class thing for Y. Teleport or combat immediately after you cast Misty Step. You can cast one of your Scion cantrips. True Strike. That has a casting time of an action as part of the bonus action. We're going to come back to this in a second. Duplicitous target. When a creature you can see makes an attack roll against you, take a reaction to expend 1 energy die, choose a willing creature, and this is something a lot of people I didn't see the potential of, but I see it. Within 30 feet of yourself that doesn't have the incapacitated condition. You and the willing creature teleport, swapping places, and then they take the hit for you. Where I've seen this talked about is swapping with the fighter or the cleric or the barbarian, someone who is the tank. This class is very heavily the mental class, including things like charm and other mind control spells. Even just friends. Convince an enemy to be a friend and use duplicitous target on them. They'll only take 1 hit before they are now hostile to you. But you just swapped with an enemy and had them attack each other. That is the potential I see for duplicitous target. Because you aren't hurting them. You theoretically aren't asking them to do something that would make them hurt. It's just a willing target to teleport with. You're not technically telling them to take the hit for you. It's just, hey, teleport. So I see a lot more potential if you're really using those mind control powers for duplicitous target. And then finally, mass teleportation. As a magic action, expend 4 psionic die and choose huge or smaller creatures within 30 feet of you, up to your intelligence modifier, which at this point is 5. Each creature is teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 150 feet. An unwilling creature that succeeds on a wisdom saving throw is unaffected. Now, where I've seen this talked about is teleporting enemies away or into the air and dropping them and stuff. That is a thing you can do, though the wisdom saving throw makes it unreliable. You are a creature within 30 feet of yourself. You can just be like, hey, party, pile in. Gone. You can just teleport you and your friends. Mass teleportation works that way. I went and double checked. So, how would I use this? I would be a Shadar-kai, which also has a teleport. You can use it proficiency times per long rest. or short rest. I actually think the Shadow Kai regenerates on a short rest. And at level 3 and later, after you use their Misty Step teleport, you have resistance to everything. Except, of course, the couple abilities ignore resistance. That's half damage on everything. Shatter. Do a ton of damage. Knock them prone. Bonus action teleport. True Strike. Hit them with advantage. Use a sickle as your weapon, which is a slashing weapon, and at level 4, take the slasher feat and reduce their speed by 10 feet. It costs, assuming it's a regular 30-foot move creature or enemy, it costs them 15 to stand up, and they only have 10 feet of movement left. Think about that. What's more, and I went and triple checked this, teleports, like Misty Step, do not trigger attack of opportunity. So if you're in melee, you can teleport away. So, you can run up, hit someone with your sickle, using True Strike, teleport away, True Strike, crossbow, hand crossbow, whatever. You are now 30 feet away. You can move if you have movement left. And you just got 2 attacks in. The Psywarper is who I would pick for my Magic Gish. Not the Metamorph. Because the ability to teleport spam around the battlefield, attack as a bonus action as part of your teleport, knock enemies prone with warp space. I mean, duplicitous target and mass teleportation are just icing on the cake as you start to level up. And again, Astro Elves get teleport. Shadow Kai get teleport. If you take the if you take the Fey Touch ability, you get another free Misty Step on top of all the Misty Steps you've already piled up. You don't have to take Slasher as your 10-foot speed remover ability. It's just, I figured you're already screwing with people and being hypermobile. What better to do than to just make them even less mobile? There's so many options. And in fact, you can enhance this with any spell that you can think of for slowing. There are ways to take cantrips or get free cantrips that come with the 10-foot slow and stuff. I mean, if I was going to make a Gish, in fact, I am in the process of making a Gish, this is who it's going to be, not the Metamorph. And which is, again, why I think the Metamorph really needs fixed. Use it to get your entire team, perform an airdrop to terminal velocity, teleport to turn that fall speed into a horizontal speed. Your entire party is now flying kick of justice the Tarrasque for the mass teleportation. And you have enough distance to teleport again for inverse motion to burn off your speed and land safely. True. You're going to have to build around that. But yeah, there are falling damage builds. And what that means is you fall onto target and do damage. There are builds that are based around that because when you, by default, when you fall into a target, the damage is split in half between you and your target. There are builds specifically designed to put all of that onto the target. And so, yeah, you could use mass teleportation as a means of doing basically, instead of one person using that build, I have a finger out, there we go. You're basically doing a 5-person shotgun with that build. On one hand, it's not the most useful thing. It is epic, but since there are already falling attack builds, it's still viable. Like, Rare Boots Mario shoes. There is a Boots of Falling something or another that might as well be Mario shoes. That I'm pretty sure is specifically what's used for that. So yeah, especially if all you really need is one person who's really spec'd for it and 4 people who can survive it, and there you go. But yeah, like I said, I'm working on a Shadowkai Gish, and the Psy Warper is my subclass of choice. I feel so bad. I may try to do a Metamorph build that's like, what is the maximum capability I can get out of it? But right now, it's just, you're playing as the same. You're not useless, but everyone's playing as the same thing, and it gets boring fast. Psychonetic. The telekinesis subclass of the mental subclasses. Telekinetic techniques. When you use your propel, you can impulse one of the following effects. Either increase something speed, so push a friend. Disorient, so make it hard for an enemy to hit. Telekinetic bolt, so you push them and do a little bit of damage. Not super exciting, but telekinetic propel is your cantrip, but not a cantrip. Psychonetic has Angry Flight. They do Empowered Attack Mode, which is wild. This is what really makes the attack mode amazing, is you gain a 60-foot fly speed. It also lets you do a little extra damage, but the big one, and notice this is the only one so far that really uses, this doesn't use attack. I know you don't use attack mode. Yeah, this doesn't use attack mode. Only the Psychonetic makes the attack. This is the only one where the attack mode is really worth it, because a 60-foot fly speed. If you guys think a 30-foot or even a 20-foot fly is broken, which I know a ton of DMs think it is, 60-foot is wild. For the record, it feels like this is the class overall, not just the Psychonetic, that should have the Ascendant Step invocation where you can just levitate yourself all the time. It's like, who else would have that? Apparently Warlocks, but not these guys. But yeah, this on its own, a 60-foot fly speed is huge. What's going to happen is either you're in a campaign that isn't built to handle that, in which case you are the most powerful person on the field because of that mobility plus power, or you're in a campaign that is designed to handle that, in which case you are still the most effective person on the team because you have a 60-foot fly speed. No one else uses attack mode and no one uses defense mode. Yeah, see, it's like the modes are kind of like, but why are they here? Rebounding field. This is the only person in this whole thing that gets shield. No one else gets shield. Which is, a lot of people are saying as a caster, not having shield is a death sentence. We've already gone over why. But that is the big one, is the fact that this is the only one that gets shield. And not only does it get shield, it gets a better shield than anyone else in the game. Because not only do you get +5 to your AC, you expend a sonic die to attack them back. It's a dexterity save. And on a failed save, they take force damage equal to the amount you rolled. And you gain even more temporary hit points. And guess what? Temporary hit points don't have a limit. Biofeedback. This plus Armor of Agathis. Plus biofeedback. Just all of the, nope, I don't feel like taking damage. Enhanced Telekinetic Crush. When you use Telekinetic Crush, expend a sonic die so that you always have their speed whether or not they succeed. Don't get me wrong, the modes are fun and reasonable for the level. Yeah, it's the modes the modes are okay, but they just don't. They just don't. Finally, heightened telekinesis. Spend 4 die so that it doesn't require concentration and lasts for a minute. This is the Scion as a whole is the class where you would think you'd get more concentration free abilities. And one of the abilities that I am working on as well, I don't think for the Flesh Morpher, but for something for a custom subclass, is going to be expend a number of 1 plus the level of the spell sonic die to just have a concentration spell last. And it can only be half of your total castable spell level rounded down. So you'd get it at level 3. If you get it at level 3, you can only do level 1 in cantrips. Cantrips only cost you 1 die. Level 1 spells cost you 2 die. Cantrips, I mean, I'd almost just make it the number of die as the level and get cantrip concentration for free, because the concentration cantrips you have access to, and in fact, even if you have access to all the concentration cantrips, they're really not game breaking. The most powerful cantrip you can get that requires concentration is Bonfire, which is a 1d8 5-foot cube of fire. Whoop-de-doo. But yeah, this is fun. Empowered attack mode on its own is the big thing for this. Rebounding field, though, is really fun. But again, it's like, I don't know. These two, your level 6 abilities really make this class. I know that someone was talking about how it's like, I think the level 6 abilities make the class. It's a very boring but practical class, in my opinion. It is not super exciting once you get past those, but it's really, really effective just with those. Like, you are contributing to the team. Expecting Metamorph to gain a regen in defense mode. Didn't happen. Psywarp in defense mode can Misty Step at will would make sense, and so on. I mean, you're getting a bonus action attack every time with Psywarper. I wouldn't complain if someone gave me that, but it does make me as a DM kind of go, but maybe. Finally, we have Telepath. We're almost done. Telepaths are masters of mind magic, and they are telepaths. What do you do? When you reach... Here we go. And it just adds these to your spells. And this is something that I like. You always have the spells listed prepared. Instead of the old one where it was do you know the spells, or do you just have the option to take them? These guys are just spelling it out for you. You get these spells, have fun. Which is how I have always wanted to treat these subclass spells anyways. It's just nice to see it spelled out for once, okay? Mind Infiltrator, which is an ability that I've wanted from more things. When you cast Detect Thoughts, expend 2 psionic energy die so that the spell doesn't require components or concentration, which I think the earlier ability actually already negates the components part, but you don't need concentration, and your target doesn't know you're doing it. The target not knowing it is the thing I wanted. I always did want there to be some, like cost to let you do that, but it is something that I've wanted to be able to do. Telepath just has a nice straight list, but like I said, I like that they're just flat out saying, no, the subclass spells are yours. Because there was a lot of, nope, you're still picking and choosing. Telepathic Hub, 10 foot instead of 5 foot range, expended die, increase the range, and you can now simultaneously contact people instead of just one at a time. It's kind of like, okay, cool. In fact, what are they? The bugs. Thri-Kreen already had this ability as a racial ability, so for me it's like, but it is useful. I mean, Thri-Kreen as a telepathic hub, I have definitely seen that used before anyways. The fact that you are now no longer racially locked if you want to use this capability, which, especially if you have a DM that is like, or just a group that's like, no, we really don't want to metagame, but we want to communicate. This can be really good for that. But like I said, it's not really new because we already had it in the Thri-Kreen. You have Rari's Telepathy at level 5 spell for free. It's pretty good. I mean, the Thri-Kreen. Here. In fact, we do get an empowered defense mode. I think Rippy missed this. In your defense mode, whenever you make a saving throw, you add 1d4 to it. Okay. In addition, when it is active, expend this benefit to creatures you are telepathically connected with. This is another one where, unlike this one, unlike Psykinetic, this isn't like a game changer, but it does make defense mode useful for the 2 shots you're using for it. Because let's be honest, you are not spending die on regenerating it. Yeah, it's like, we already have guidance at, well, no, guidance isn't a save, guidance is an ability check. It's bless without the attack option, because bless lets you do it for an attack option. Bless is attack and saves. Guidance is ability checks. This is just saves. Now, it is nice that it's not spending resources for it. Guidance isn't guidance is a cantrip. Bless is not, though. But it's okay. It's another okay, but Potent Thoughts. Add your intelligence modifier to the damage you deal with any psi cantrip. Cool. Most of them are already doing plus your... Well, okay, some of them are already doing plus your intelligence. So... Oh, wait. I'm going to assume this stacks. So you're doing intelligence, intelligence. That's how I'm going to interpret that. It stacks. Okay. We are in agreement. So, okay, intelligence, intelligence. So that's, at level 6, that's either a +4/+4 or a +5/+5. That's worth it. All right, telepathic bolstering. Your telepathy now automatically is 30 feet, and you can extend it. When you're a creature you can see within range, fails an ability check, or misses with an attack. Here we go with the bless. It's bless plus, expend 1 psionic energy die, roll the die, and add the number rolled to the d20. So this is actually super bless / super guidance. And it only spends the die if it succeeds. Thank you. Super bless / super guidance minus the saves, because that says check, that doesn't say save. That's actually really good. It's boring but practical, but it's really good. That is drastically increasing your damage reliability. That is drastically decreasing the odds of things going wrong when you really need them to go right when it comes to ability checks. See stealth. That can be really important, actually. Finally, we have Scramble Minds. You cast Confusion, you can expend 4 psionic energy die so that the spell's sphere is now 30 feet. That's the radius, so 60 feet total. And creatures under the effect of the spell roll 2d10s. And you choose which one determines, because I think Confusion is 1d10. So it improves, it gives you more control over what's happening. So Telepath is another one where it's like really practical, especially once you hit level 10. This is kind of like, but level 10 it comes online as far as I'm concerned, and you're good. This is really, really a support class, though. Super duper support class. Everything else you are being much more active. This is the support. I'm not going to really get into the spells. There's only one that I really want to address, which is Summon Astral Entity. The 2024 update changed almost all the summon or create or whatever spells into something that modifies how you attack and did not put more pieces on the board. Summon Astral Entity puts a new piece on the board after they went on and on and on about how they didn't want to do that. I mean, I'm serious. They really, really got into how they don't want summons to actually summon. There was a whole thing on it. And now we have a summon that summons. And don't get me wrong, I prefer summons that summon. It's just like, is there a reason we went through months of this anti-summoning ranting only for you to backtrack? But that's about all I'm gonna address on that one. Now, here we go with the origin feats. And I really like these. So, and there's a whole bunch of these. And these are you automatically start with it as your background. This is what 2024 is doing, where you get to pick a feat as part of your background, period. So everyone gets one to start, which is something I really like with the addition. Atmokinesis. When you cast a spell or hit with an attack that would deal bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, change the damage to lightning damage. True Strike is in this category. You now have an additional damage type. Plus, these are the melee weapons. Piercing and bludgeoning. I'm sorry, wait, no. Yeah, piercing and bludgeoning are the damage types for 2 of the Metamorphs abilities. Their range 1 is acid. But yeah, there's more. You also now know Shocking Grasp. You can cast a free Fog Cloud. And you can cast a free Gust of Wind once you reach level 3. Which, that Shocking Grasp is just plain useful. Fog Cloud and Gust of Wind are kind of situational. Fog Cloud is at least good cover, but useful. Biokinesis. When a spell you cast restores hit points to a creature, roll 1d4 and add it to the total hit points restored. You can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency. This really requires you to be doing healing things to begin with. Because I don't think you get healing by default. Like, you need the subclass that has it, I think. Spare the Dying, very situational. Here we go. Healing Word! Can be cast once for free. That is pretty big. Getting a free Healing Word is pretty big if you're healing people. And then you get Arcane Vigor at level 3. Clairsentience, minor foreknowledge. When you search for things, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check made as part of searching. I have advantage on perception. And you can do this a number of times to get your proficiency bonus. Perception is sort of the thing to rule all things, because if you screw that up, you're screwed. So the ability to just give yourself advantage as part of perception checks is massive. Guidance, which is an amazing cantrip now that it's a reaction, where it's just, I missed, but just barely. Quick, roll a d4. I love the new guidance cantrip. Detect good and evil. Get it for free. And see invisibility, which is campaign specific, but can be super powerful if you need it. This is one of those things where you will either never need it or you will absolutely always need it. Cryokinesis. This is big one. Same thing as Atmo, except it's cold damage, which, this is what I pick for my background feat for my Gish, because, again, I now have a choice between cold, radiant, or slashing damage as I see fit. Ray of Frost for ranged attack and 10-foot slow. Free Armor of Agathys and Ice Knife. Armor of Agathys, 5 free HP, plus when people hit me, take 5 damage until that 5 free HP is gone. Ice Knife, hit area AoE, and I think Ice Knife is the one that does a surface. I want to double check this. No, it does not. But it is an AoE. So it's a free Icy AoE capability. No 3rd level spell. But Armor of Agathys and Ice Knife are pretty powerful to begin with. Empath. Whenever you take an influence ability, persuasion, deception, intimidation, yada yada, give yourself advantage. Number of proficiency checks. Again, if you are the face of the group, that's huge, because it's advantage on persuasion checks and deception checks and intimidation checks. That's a massive. You always have Charm Person. Can do it for free. And at level 3, you get Calm Emotions. Can do it for free. Charm Person, I get a lot of mileage out of. Calm Emotions, less so. But, still good. Flesh Morpher. Okay. Okay, I say that, but no. Flesh Morpher is good, but ironically, it's not good for what they probably want it used for. Flesh Morpher, they want you using with Metamorph. I would not use Flesh Morpher with Metamorph. Find something else to use it with. Flesh Morpher is useful for things not Metamorph. Acrobatics, a sleight of hand. Give yourself a bonus. Longstrider. Baldur's Gate 3 has taught us that Longstrider is an amazing spell to always have prepared. Get one for free. And then Alter Self. There are other ways to get Alter Self that I prefer to use, but a free shot of Alter Self is always nice. Level 3, Calm Emotions, aka Enemy Barbarian. Okay, fair. I rage. No, you don't. Oh no. Calm Emotions. It's the Snickers of spells. Oh no. Almost done. Mind Whisper. Form a single telepathic connection within 120 feet that you can see. It lasts for an hour. And once again, you can communicate both ways. And it regens on both a short and long rest, unlike everything else, which is a long rest. Again, most of the telepathic stuff that we get before now is, unless you're a Thri-Kreen, telepathy is one way, and you need to use Detect Thoughts or some other spell in order to hear what they're hearing or saying, or for them to send a spell to you. Mind Sliver, which is good as a cantrip. Reducing enemy ability to do things is always important. Dissonant Whispers, which is a pretty good lockdown. Get it for free. And that's no extra. Side Trickster, whenever you make a charisma check, bonus equal to your intelligence modifier. And, Minor Illusion, and then you get Disguise Self. This one is definitely much more for the role player. It's another probably face of the party thing. You're not getting quite so much effective ability unless you're getting creative. Though, admittedly, if you get creative, these are some good ones to have. Psykineticist. Now, this is the one where it's like, because you have to take the dash action in order to get your extra 10 foot of speed, which that becomes a bit more situational. But I get it. It's like, nope, you got to take the moment to empower yourself and then go. But it still feels a little bit Telekinetic Fling for free is nice because that's just, I throw this at you. You can pick some good you could pick some good things to throw at people, and Telekinetic Fling becomes a pretty good cantrip. Thunder Wave is Thunder Wave, nice AoE, and it's for free. And finally, Pyrokinesis, which is Atmokinesis and Cryokinesis, but with fire. The Produce Flame cantrip. It's an okay but short-ranged flame cantrip. Burning Hands, and you eventually get Scorching Ray. It is a very generic, but also like super combat utility thing to just get some free fire things. Psykineticist with a Roguish to dash on bonus gets... Oh, that's true. That's true. I stand corrected. Psykineticist on a rogue suddenly becomes real... Actually, holy smoke. Telekinetic Fling on a rogue has all those random items and knives and grenades and pots and stuff to fling at enemies that do different things. Psykineticist is the rogue's new best friend. You get that bonus action dash for mobility and be like, I'm not gonna bother throwing this. I'm going to just point and send my bag of grenades at the enemy. Because, you know what, we are going to go up and look at Telekinetic Fling real quick. You brandish the ammunition, cast the spell, and fire it at a creature within range using psionic energy. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, takes 1d10 force damage. Ammunition is destroyed. But if you throw a fire pot, you do 1d10 plus, I forget what fire pot does. Like 3d6, I think. So yeah, on a rogue, Psychokinesis is actually wild. Holy smokes, I didn't even realize that. It's like, wait a minute. That is a great call, Rippy. And then, like I said, Pyrokinesis is just your boring but practical, I am doing fire things now spell. And it is very, very practical. So, yeah, there's a lot of shockingly practical things in this class. Obviously, there are things that need to be changed, or could stand to be enhanced, though with the way WotC works, probably they'll just be left to languish. More to the point, those spells have no verbal somatic components. Set up a trap and flick without. That's true. Because these are all mental capabilities, you are functionally subtle spelling everything, which is also huge. Now, something like Thunder Wave, that by its nature has sound. But Telekinetic Fling is going to be quiet. All of these, Produce Flame, Burning Hand, Scorching Ray, you are subtle spelling everything here unless it explicitly says it does sound. So silence doesn't work on you. You're not worried about materials except for very specific instances. That on its own, particularly thanks to Baldur's Gate 3, which really taught a lot of people the power of the silence spell. That on its own for anything is going to be really powerful. And there is an argument, though this is really down to your DM, that a single level dip into this for a different caster class is suddenly you're subtle spelling everything. Bards weep as they no longer get to do bard things as they cast. But otherwise, yeah, there is an argument, depending on how your DM chooses to interpret things, that you only need a single level dip into this to functionally have the subtle spell meta magic permanently. I would have to decide how I would roll that. I have not yet decided what I think, but that is really, really powerful. This could be the new Hexblade. Where Hexblade is like, we'll take a 1 or 2 level dip and then be a different martial. Here's your cursed sword, go hit things with it. Here's your free subtle spell, go hit. I was gonna say go hit things with it, but that's anyways. But yeah, I really like this. I've loved the idea of charisma casters just for a lot of different lore reasons. I especially love warlocks for the lore reasons. True strike things with it. Yeah, there we go. Here's your subtle spell. Go do true strike things with it. That would be a 2 level dip, I think, isn't it? For the no, that's the modes. Yeah, it's 2 levels for Psionic Discipline. You get the modes for free, and it's like, whoop they did. Well, hold on. You know what? For the 2 level dip, other classes could benefit from the modes more than a pure Scion would. Huh. Okay, hold on. I might like this. I might have to retract my criticisms of the psionic modes. These might be here for the multi-class. Because you're not getting to your subclasses yet. That's level 3. But a 2-level dip into get your psionic modes. You get your psionic disciplines, which give you 2 abilities here. And then you get psionic modes. For martials in particular, getting a bonus to wisdom, intelligence, and charisma saving throws is potentially a literal lifesaver. Now, the psychic damage is significantly less good unless you are like a Cyanite. It's Cyanite, right? I think it's Cyanite. Where you're doing a lot of psychic damage anyways. But the defense mode is huge for martials. A really good dip is Psychonetic 6 Fighter 14. Flying Psychic Damager with True Striking attack. True. No, it's not 4 times. It's 5 times. You're True Striking 5 times. Using your bonus action for another True Strike. And True Strike enhances the damage. Because at level 5, I think it's 5, 10, and 15. I could be wrong. As a cantrip, it increases the damage you're doing. So you're making all these attacks. And now, as a martial, technically that just makes True Strike good for martials, period. But yeah, this gets you, a 2-level dip gets you the True Strike as a martial. Plus Swift Precognition. Plus Inerrant Aim. Or if you want to, or if you're the tank, biofeedback. Holy smokes. I did not think I've been focused all in on Scion. I hadn't gotten to the multi-class nonsense. 2 levels of this is potentially a huge boost to martials. 6 levels, as you said, with Psychoneticist or Psywarper, because that's where you get teleporter combat. Absolutely massive. I mean, 3 levels on Metamorph. Extend limbs is going to mean something to martials. Metamorph also starts to be good when you look at it from that perspective. The extra attack is going to hurt a bit more. No, actually, no, because it gives you an extra attack. Okay, because it gives you an extra attack at level 6, the 6th level deep dip doesn't hurt as much. But though you really only need 3. I do not know if I'd go half and half still. I don't think these are worth it unless you really, really need Stony Epidermis in particular. But for marshals, the reach and speed in particular are actually huge. Again, there's an argument to be made for range of touch with True Strike melee weapon, giving you like huge melee range, though that is your DM dependent. Okay, suddenly Metamorph also it's like a pure Metamorph is very one note, but a martial Metamorph with that 3-level dip is really meaning something. Telepath, like I said, is just pure support. I don't think there's a lot of I don't think Telepath is going to be much of a, maybe. Telepath feels like it's all or nothing, still kind of. Multi-class nonsense, 9% explanation for a lot of apparent... Yeah, it's like, all these things I complained about, I think it literally is all the things I complained about. I think it really is everything that I said was And definitely everything everyone else complained about suddenly matters a ton if you're doing multi-classing. Holy smokes, this is the new Hexblade. This is the new Warlock Hexblade. Holy crap! I can get behind that mentality, though. I can actually... I still am going to do some subclasses intended to really make it shine on its own, but I can really get behind building a subclass with the idea... building a class around the idea that it has some abilities in it that are kind of not great on their own or really one note, but if you multi-class, mean the world. I take back what I said. Paladin lets you give all saves for... Okay. That's a bit more narrow compared to most of these other multi-class options, but I will take that. But yeah, I can really get behind that, especially since this in particular, defense mode on its own for a 2-level dip, is super meaningful to marshals. I have tried to find good ways to fix marshals. I have struggled. I like the new weapon effects as part of a way to fix it. But I haven't felt that it's enough. Looking at a marshal and saying just take the 2-level dip to get a little bit of magic capability and have these bonuses, I can really get behind the 2 or 3 level dip to help even the playing field. I know I am a caster main, but that's because I'm a marshal in real life, but I have always wanted the marshals to have more, and realizing that with this they can have more, I'm actually super, super glad for them. I really like that. That is something I can get behind. Lore-wise, things get interesting when everyone has subtle spell telekinesis capabilities. Lore-wise, things get real interesting. An easy explanation is just everyone was huddled around the Mind Flayer thing when it exploded. But otherwise, and a telepathic barbarian is horrifying. Otherwise, that is actually super cool. I know I naysay WotC and a lot of things, and I still think they deserve most of them. WotC, I give a lot of credit for this, actually, and see far fewer things to complain about rebalancing. And that includes biofeedback, which is completely broken, but I kind of want it to stay that way. And let the DMs decide what is and isn't fair here. And admittedly, limiting by school does help. So yeah, that is my going over the Scion and geeking out about it. I really like this. I want to play as Scions, which is like, oh no, I already have a ton of characters I want to play as. But while I have one that's the capstone of my own homebrew I want to play, I think it will come down to either that character as my next character or a Scion, since this is the new thing. Whether or not it's a Scion that I've already homebrewed or not is still up in the air. It may be my Shadow Kai, just to see if the Gish actually works on in practice and not just on paper. But yeah, I think even before I realized the multi-class potential, I thought this was a great addition to D&D. I've heard it compared to the Mystic class, the revival of the Mystic class, which I know I don't have a personal connection to, but everyone who I know who does, who I know of, who knows of the Mystic class has really wanted it back. So getting Mystic class type equivalent back is something I can get behind. I can be happy for people who wanted the Mystic back, even if I'm not one of them. Again, just because I don't know anything about it. Giving the multi-class options is a huge thing. So that is me nerding around in a circle for a while. I'm going to take my break, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time we have left with Enshrouded. And then that will be our Sunday stream. It has been a very talky stream. But I felt the Buffalo thing in particular was super important, and I'm a huge D&D nerd, and I really, really, really wanted to say my piece on the Scion. So I will see you guys in a couple minutes. I will be back. I just thought of something new. I got a whole new nightmare for you. Your rogue, your sneak attacking rogue, the one with do the 2-level dip. You have 2 bonus actions. You're now doing 3 True Strike sneak attacks in a turn. Your nuke just became a Merv. Thank you, Rippy. It's spelled with an I. Multiple independent reentry vehicles. Is where you fire one ICBM and a whole bunch of different warheads land from the one missile. But yeah, your rogue is now firing 3 sneak attack arrows, or hits. Though arrows feels more appropriate in a single turn, as they burn 2 of their 4 die to fire off 2 bonus action shots on top of their first one. But that's still like. Yeah. We're being mean with this build. I was already super excited for the Scion. I am so happy right now. All right, now to the actual game for tonight. Enshrouded. Which I know very little about, besides it comes highly recommended. This process is really? Wow, I'm not happy about that. I wish I had known that earlier. I would have had it compiling the shaders while we were doing everything else. I wish I had known about that. That makes me a little unhappy. Oh, I guess while we wait, I can talk about something that I meant to talk about earlier anyways. So, again, I was listening to the Unsubscribed podcast, doing their thing. Tectone was on it, which is really cool. Tectone is cool. Yeah, faster outside of gameplay, grinding along. Anyways, he mentioned a couple things. One, for me, for my time zone, 8 a.m. to noon is the best time to stream. Because I'm in the same time zone as the guys. I don't know if I can manage that most of the time. During the week I work. And Saturday and Sunday, it's like I have really late nights before then. Admittedly, I have a really late night now, and then I'm gonna be at work before 8 tomorrow, but yeah. So I guess there's theoretically ways to push it. But I know that it would be a huge shift to switch to an 8 to 12 for like Saturday and Sunday. However, I had another idea. And I've already begun the process of working on it. As we know, I have VR set up. Since my eye surgery, I have not used VR. I think my eyes are now at the point where I'm going to try and see if I can do VR. I had the idea of doing shorter streams. Tectone says 4 hours is a sweet spot, so yay. But not in the mornings. I had the idea of doing shorter, dedicated VR streams. Probably less professional. Probably, well, definitely without tracking, because I don't have the means to do both really at the same time yet. That are just sort of like I'm streaming my exercise routine. Since I have the treadmill, which gives more resistance to movement than regular walking by a lot. Since I don't have the room to VR any other way. I thought the idea of being like, okay, I have admittedly let myself go a little bit. And I haven't VR'd for quite some time. Why don't I do short, these would be very short, earlier streams when I can. It will mostly be Saturday, Sunday though, because work. Though maybe I can be like, hey, I'm taking my lunch and my breaks all at the same time and try to cram a stream into earlier in the day. And just do like short little workout with me while I fight medieval monsters type streams or something. That is my obvious go-to for what I would do, because that was certainly a workout before, and it would be nice to get back into practice on some level. It's not the same as actually swinging swords around, but it's some practice, and it's something I can do from the comfort of, well, not my desk, but very close to it. I'm curious what people would think of just random during the day, like I'm getting my daily exercise and join me as I VR. Now, it's going to take a little prep work. Because I'm not going to attempt to stream and VR from the same machine. I've already gone and got the cable splitters that I need. But I'm going to need to do a lot of porting things over so that I'm running OBS on the other machine and streaming from this machine. Which, realistically speaking, is probably what I should be doing anyways. Because my main machine is the more powerful of the two. Wait. No, yeah, I think it does actually make a lot more sense to do that. The big problem that I have, though, is just the simple fact that I rely very much on the big screens of my main machine. I'd have to do a lot of rearranging in general, but I'm gonna work on figuring it out. There are some really good arguments for playing on my main machine for many different reasons. Anyways, but yeah, I'm curious what we'd think. If I do this, it will probably be this upcoming Saturday or Sunday, where I will do like some kind of morning VR stream or whatever. Oh, no, I didn't mean to go. Nope, back. We don't want to go yet. But what do we think of morning streams? What do we think of the VR streams coming back? I decided to say screw it and splurged on one of the ongoing. Thankfully, there are still Memorial Day sales on. Sales in order to get basically the best wearable mic I could find. It's supposed to have a 98% noise cancellation capability. I was actually going to look into getting a throat mic, but all the ones that I could use are absolutely atrociously reviewed. They're horrible. And the ones with good reviews I can't use because they use the stupid double prong. And apparently the adapters for those are total trash. So I didn't get a throat mic, though that trying to dig up a good throat mic is my backup. But I just said screw it and splurged on a really, really nice... I think it's the same model Brandon Herrera uses. A little box wearable remote mic. And we're going to see if that is worth anything. That is my plan right now. But I'm curious what we would think about that, because I gotta get exercise. The treadmill is exercise. I'd be doing VR things. They would be... I'd have to port all of my VTuber stuff over if I even wanted to use it for that. Which, if I'm gonna OBS from that machine from now on, I'd need to do that anyways. Oh, this is a whole thing! But it's a whole thing. Lost my thought. Got lost in my thoughts of trying to figure out how to make this work. Anyways, what I might do is work on creating an idle animation. And of course, and just use instead of the face tracking, because I do not have a VR set with face tracking, it would be just like a speech. Well, it'd basically be what Zentraya uses. Oh no, well, for speech. Zentraya obviously has face tracking for emotions, but for speech, it is just a dedicated word sounds make mouth move setup. I'm curious what people would think, if they have any input, if they have any suggestions. Yeah, converting everything over to the other machine would make the most sense. But at the same time, it's so much work to do. Ah! Oh, I'm still so excited about the Scion stuff because, oh my gosh, I did not realize... I was, like I said before, I was already excited about the Scion as a class. Realizing that it's built to be multi-classed is super, super exciting. The 5e in particular has always been awful when it comes to multi-classing. It's like you need very specific builds or else it's just worse. Having a class that feels like it's made to be easily multi-classed is huge. That's on Twitch for whoever is closest to the nuke. Speaking of, while we're continuing to wait for the shaders to compile, I have gotten on Telegram, of all things, multiple people contacting me with their usual scamming BS, and I'm just acting like they all owe me money. Thank you, Rippy. Because they use real profile pictures, and what I do is I take a screenshot of the profile picture, because once you start saying, no, I could see it's you, they'll delete or try to change it. But yeah, I have started being like, no, you owe me money. Where's my money? Give me my money. And I know there's a bunch of other people who have started doing it. It's not an idea original to me. Someone else who's doing it told me about it, and I decided to start too. And now there's a whole bunch of us doing that. Man, I really wish I had realized that this was going to be this way. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to ramble or talk about. I really don't think I do. I guess let's see if I'm gonna hope designing a character doesn't ruin it. Or slow it down. I don't mind sidecut ponytail, but what other options do we have? Is this bigger? No. That's smaller. You know me and ponytails, people. Also, I like the music that's playing. I think I'm going to be boring and continue my proud tradition of maining ponytails. Let's do white hair. I'm feeling white hair. More eye colors, please. That's anime-ish. There were not a lot of options, so we didn't get to do a whole lot of this. Oh, so this is another... Well, you've got two options here. Well, there's not very many options, unfortunately. Things to talk about. Oh, did you see that the Nintendo Switch 2 is shipping as a brick? And is another one of these you're gonna update for the next 2 hours when you first turn it on type deals? How... Nintendo's ability to completely screw things up. Good grief. Oh, I'm super late to the party on this, but I just saw someone else talking about it, so I'm gonna join in. I'm not gonna name names right now because I know that that's probably gonna pick a fight. That I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just trying to have my say on this. And there's a thing going on with saving games from being just deactivated, taken away, and the counter argument has been that you're making extra work for the devs to force them to keep the servers open forever. No, that's not what's being asked for. I've actually read what they're asking for and what they want, and it's what... I'm going to use two huge examples so that you can't say it's impossible to do. Minecraft and Palworld. Player-hosted servers. They both shipped with the ability to make player-hosted servers, for Pete's sakes. That just, you know, and you don't need to unlock that functionality until you're at end of service. And it's like, but they're massive servers. Players will find a way. Players always find a way. And the counter argument that I've seen to player-hosted servers has been, oh no, well that's, then people will be charging money for things, or they will be cheating and hacking and stuff. And it's like, they're private servers. Just don't play on a cheating and hacking one. Set up your own server. And why the heck are you so upset about the possibility of paid for stuff? You are ending service for the for the game. What is it? Well, I know why they complain about that. It's because they want the money. Well, too bad. Keep the servers open then if you want the money. Oh, but they're making money off of our work. Oh, please. Like, you aren't making money off other people's work. Invent your own coding language. Which, admittedly, some people have done. But, I mean, for pity's sake, just look at Bethesda running the Creation Engine for 20 years in a row. All these other devs have put so much work in the backs of others. And, you know, it's like, and it's always the AAAs that are complaining about this. Again, the two big examples are Minecraft and Palworld, which, you know, Palworld's huge now, but they weren't when they shipped. Palworld was not huge when it shipped. It was a tiny little thing that just went viral. And it shipped with player servers. You had 3 options right there. They were hosting a server, you could make your own server, or you could just invite people to your game. So the complaints about trying to force servers to remain open indefinitely feel very disingenuous, and there's solutions built in to which the only counter arguments are mostly, but we're greedy and we want the money, not them. I think that's about all I have, but that's just me latching onto something I saw that I want to bring up while we're stuck waiting. Oh my god, I wish I knew that this had to compile shaders. Oh my gosh. Things to ramble about. I did switch back to the Starlance attack. It looks like they're fixing it and may even be putting the forward remote turret on the pilot when it's not crewed, which would be really neat to have 6 size 4 guns, all linked when I'm soloing. My plan was to put my alt account on the front turret. Now I'm thinking I could put the alt account on the rear turret, the rear missile turret to be more specific, when I'm flying personally at least, and it can cover behind me. That would be kind of neat. But yeah, it just ended up being like, all right, there's the ship is a whale. It has its issues. The fixes may actually make it worth it. I like the firepower boost, and I may ultimately end up with more cargo space than I thought. I'm debating the switch to the Max. The Max is cheaper and has I would drop the Fury entirely if I switch to the Max and just give up on carrying a fighter. But the expanded cargo may or may not be worth it. It depends, among other things, it depends on if the how nicely the mechs play with the lowerable cargo rails. Because I'm seeing some good things and I'm seeing some bad things. Oh, and also the big sandworms, the big alphas are dropping in the next patch, it looks like. So we will land on planets and just randomly have our ships get eaten now. Because you don't understand. The full-size sandworms are actually either the same size as or even bigger than the big sandworms in Dune. Absolutely massive. You could fly your ship into its mouth. Type type huge. Which, admittedly, the Starlancer TAC in particular feels like it's designed for fighting, with its 2 big side turrets with size 5 guns, and the fact that, you know, it's door guns. It does have a pair of door guns, though they suck. But for their use against a target as big as the what's the official name? The Valakar? I can't remember. I think it's Valakar. The big Alpha Valakars. You know, coming in, doing the Spectre gunship thing where you tilt in. You've got one of your big size 5 side turrets, the little size 1 minigun on the door, and both of your twin size 4 top turrets, all pointed down at this thing. You are laying on the hatred. You are putting a lot of power down for that. You've got your pilot guns to keep stuff away from in front of you. You've got the alternate side door gun to maybe try to protect you. You pop out the little Fury, either a missile Fury to help you or a regular Fury to just be like a guard. You then, once it goes down, you drop. You have your drop ship seats to drop people out, to rush to harvest the resources. You have still have a decent cargo bay plus vehicle. Yeah, it's the TAC does feel very much like a, yeah, we know what's coming type build of a ship. Don't get me wrong, Asgard's cool and it's still a super still a super Cutlass, but it's just the amount of finagling to get the same capability out. You can, but it feels like you're making sacrifices. Mostly in terms of space. I don't know. Again, though, maybe dropping some of the stuff for more cargo space is worth it. I don't know. I've got to just play more and decide. Speaking of, I guess I gotta ask. I keep hearing that the boarding party, the 890 jump boarding party, is a difficult fight, a difficult mission. I keep seeing this from like multiple professional Star Citizen streamers. And I'm sitting here going, dudes, I'm taking this on with a handgun with a single magazine so that I can just load up on equipment without expending a lot. Am I secretly good at this, or am I just watching the wrong people? Because I do not consider myself a particularly good FPS or flight combat person. Don't get me wrong, I play both. I just don't think I'm good at them. But yeah, it's like, nope, I'm gonna go in empty packs, as little as I need to carry as possible, so I can load up on the maximum possible stuff on my way out. Because it's usually 2, maybe 3 ships guarding it, plus 20 guys in the ship itself. We're getting close finally, but I'm just trying to think of what else I could do to fill the time a little bit more. You know what? Let's have a quick check on things, actually. I wonder why Twitter is broken there. It concerns me how broken Twitter is with that. Thankfully, I can check elsewhere. The relay is still working, so yay, the Twitter people could talk to everyone else. Yep, almost there. Yeah, I'd have to move my mic over, have to move my camera receptors over, have to move all of my stream resources over. But then I would be streaming on the good GPU and CPU and not the okay CPU and dying GPU. Which, by the way, don't get an 8GB 5060. Really don't get any 50s series if you can help it, because NVIDIA is being bad again. NVIDIA has proven to be an absolutely awful company, and I... We have another idea. And we have multiple another ideas. I must plot. I must plot and plan. And quite possibly done! Play! Start a private game. New game. My World 1. Sure, we're doing this again. Difficulty. Sure, balance. What are the other options? Relaxed. Hard. Survival. Custom. Nope, we're gonna do... regular old balanced. Like I said, I know a little of this, other than it has some Lovecraftian... Okay.
A wanderer brought an enthralling gift to the people of Embervale. The elixir. It was a cure, a blessing, a weapon. Once concealed by the ancients, its might had been set free. With it came power, mistrust, and a longing for more. Humanity dug the elixir wells, ripping apart the land and each other to quench their thirst. Elixir and blood, a drop for a drop.
You say Dark Souls, I say Bloodborne.
But from the depths of the wells, an unforeseen curse crept into Embervale. The Shroud, a ruinous fog which sought only to spread and devour. Facing their downfall, ancients and humans united to forge the Flameborn. Now, your time has come. Awake.
Twitter Relay is having issues. Okay, so being next to the fire improves my rested level. Once again, the screen is my bane of my existence. Why is it always so dark? Thank you. I don't like that your maximum is less than... I'm just gonna max it. That way you can see better and I can see better. I do not like less than 90. Yeah, it's... These little it's a cheap portable screen. It is crappy. You've slumbered for too long, Flameborn. The realm of Embervale... The realm of Embervale has fallen, consumed by the Shroud. Now the enduring flame calls for you. Find a place in the ruined world and construct a flame altar to create shelter from the dark. It's also very, very blurry on my screen, but it looks much crisper, what you guys can see. Hit the snooze button too much and now the world's ended. Fast road awaits you, filled with secrets of peril. Press I, navigate to the map to track your discoveries. Nope. Okay, I can get to... Nope, that's not it. Moment, I need to change my gamepad settings. Gamepad settings. Okay, M is up, I is down. You said J. Oh no, that's not what it's... Hold on. Oh, okay, there we go. M, J, I. On the flame and its murmurs, pure light engulfs the knowledge of the ancient breed, protects it in a flaming core, wisdom far beyond my own imagination. I could stare into the fire for hours, seeking answers, a whisper, but I hear none. Despite possessing a voice, it only speaks to those born from the flame. A shame, as I believe we could have quite enlightened conversations. Balthazar. Like all these games, you wake up in a ruin. Have fun. I like the setting so far. I like the aesthetic. I like the setup. It interests me. I'm intrigued. A bandage and a torch. Those are good starting items. Breath of the Wild started the circle and now everyone has it. Now the torch. First weapon, torch. Punch it with fire. Pretty much. Which, I mean, that's a practical use. Well, now we're just doing now we are doing Dark Souls things. Oh, cool. Sending out lights to the light is very neat. We're also doing Elden Ring things, which I don't know about the new Elden Ring standalone that just came out. I've got too many things on my plate already. Plus, I really feel like I should properly finish the first Elden Ring. I've just got, again, so many things on my plate already. Use terraforming tools or explosives to forge a path through the rubble. Explosive powder balls can be thrown. Explosive barrels can be detonated at range. Okay, I guess we are doing this. I was gonna wait, but sure. I cannot aim. I just have to throw and hope for the best. Hunter's Ring. I am not singing this. But good to know. Yeah, the another reason to switch is the crappy Wi-Fi keyboard that I'm using. No, it's not crappy, but it's not good for gaming. It's not good for gaming, so I'm also using a half-hand keyboard. Which is better for gaming, but doesn't have a full keyboard. Okay, so I did have to go down here eventually anyways. Ooh, that's pretty. Now the torch. I get a sense these are eventually going to run out. Your inner flame allows you to resist the shroud, but if you linger, you will perish. Escape the shroud to replace your maximum time in the shroud. Press tab to lock onto your foes. Press control to dodge out of harm's way. Uh-oh. Thank you, torch. Rusty short sword. These guys also feel like Elden Ring enemies, only not near as tough. An angry thing. Oh my gosh. When was the last time I heard a Mass Effect reference? If you fall, you will rise again at your last return beacon. Doing something right. Reach level 2. The Long Keep has been discovered. When equipped with a shield or melee weapon, press right. Okay. You know that only 50% of all players have gotten that achievement. So people just started the game, saw the shader time, and just quit, is what I'm getting out of that. I definitely think the shader thing is what killed it for people. No, or rather, I'm more joking about how often an incomprehensibly small number of people get to the achievement in a game statistically. Well, that's what I mean. They open the game, they see that the shader thing is at 1% compiling, and just quit and never get back in. Oh, and any... Okay, fair. Oh, are you an enemy? I guess you are. You're not a very dangerous enemy. I say, even though my D&D players, when I'm DMing, manage to almost die to a bucket of rats. Less than 60% of players have gotten a kill in Team Fortress 2. Oh. Okay. I mean, there's also a ton of people that are just bad at the game still. Oh, something took damage. Something's dying over here. Zai sits down with Skeleton. Gentlemen, some grog, if you please. Don't leave my side. Jasmina, is it true? The ancients call upon you to stay behind as the rest of us slumber. We will be there when I awake. Please, you cannot leave my side. You're my all. Why must we change? I miss the old days when we used to travel together. Side by side, you let me linger next to you. You held my hand, and now, all the secrecy. For what? I thought you could confide in me. I don't want the ancients to drive us apart. I'll lose all faith. You must go. At least give me a farewell kiss. All my heart. Emily. Uh-oh! I didn't know that was gonna be that drop. That was a problem. I made a mistake. Bye. Oh, there's more enshroudment down there. I mean, yeah, I just used the one bandage that I got in order to heal. Captain's Journal, Day 1. Hold the chamber to your last breath. These were the words of the Ancient One before he entered with a handful of our best warriors. It was the first time I'd seen one of his kind, and I expect it will be the last. His face is burned in my mind. My life and those of my remaining soldiers are pledged to the sacred duty. So these were soldiers charged with defending the chamber I came out of for the pretty much to the end of their lives. Treasure chest. Yep, they certainly held the line. I woke up. Campfire to cook food. I don't have any food to cook. Just oh wait, no, never mind. I guess I have food to cook. Finally, a break from the tedious work. My bones are sore, but the warmth of the fire, a little shelter, and some sleep should allow me to become well rested. Food is getting scarce. I hear they're planning an expedition. Thankfully, I hid some rations below my bed. They will make for a nice meal when cooked over fire. Those rations can't still be good. I was absolutely not going to catch that. There's a 0% chance I was catching that. Oh wait, cool. Okay, more things are doing the rotating action bar, but not enough of them. I appreciate that this has that for that reason. Alright. Now we're going to do sword first. First, you use torch next. Alright, those are arrows, not spears. Right, we need to cook food, so we're going to do the food. Healing potion. Oh, I have some grilled meat. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to do that. I can still grill the remaining meats. Cool. Oh, did time not stop? Okay, yeah, that is good to know. That's not a bad cooking mechanic. Certainly not when compared to many other setups. So we've got random bits of enshroudment. You know what? Let's make our way to the waypoint over here. Game wants us to go that way. Let's go that way. We can come back and explore the enshroudment later. Ooh. So presumably this convenient wide open spot is where they want me to claim. Matt, thank you. Also, thank you for a pin option. Okay, cool. Mixed feelings on the material dropping that way instead of just going in inventory. Some games do it nicely, some games don't. Kind of depends on which game we're talking about. Minecraft would be proud punching that natural resource into useful. Yeah. You're not alone. There are other survivors drowsing in nearby ancient vaults. Find them so that they may aid in your journey. Go gently. One beckons nearby, just outside the Shroud's grasp. Okay. Hello. Welcome. We're playing Enshrouded. Though we are admittedly closing in on the end of the stream as far as the timing goes, I'm sorry. Okay, the targeting on this is not great. There are commands, exclamation point command. However, they are only sort of working at the moment. I'm working on a fix is in the works. Okay, these are the places it wants me to go. Okay, one waypoint at a time. Please stop. I can't see where the waypoint is. Devs, make the waypoint higher. I assume it's somewhere in this direction. Devs, you need taller waypoints. Braylon Bridge. I could see it marked now, but I had a pillar of things to look at. At least I presume that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't the waypoint. Maybe it was just on the compass, and I just happened to put the waypoint where the pillar was. Ah! If you had pushed me over the edge, I would have been very unhappy. We are hungry. Had to destroy the bridge and with it our connection to supplies, but it worked. We haven't seen any more scavengers. The Cinder Vault and those within it are safe and should remain so. If we are to avoid starvation, we may have to take our chances in the horrible shroud. Either choice is certain death. Something is making noises and I don't like it. Alright, let's see if we can make it to our chosen destination before the end tonight. Hourglass capsule. Oh, it's consumed upon... Okay, so I'm really early on. One hit? Alright, scumbags. Cool. Yeah, knowing the enemies one hit you certainly changes the dynamic of the game. Okay, we're just gonna go around them. Yeah, we are almost at the end of the stream, but I want to get to wherever we're going before we end. So the shroud is just mushroom spores, right? Nope, 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 nope. Don't feel like fighting you right now. Are you kidding me? Nope. Ah! I don't think we're gonna make it. I think this is gonna be our last attempt at this. I don't think we're gonna make it. still, the story is very curious, and it's pretty obvious that the elixir caused as many problems as it solved. You know, much like the old blood. Which, you all know me. I love those kinds of story beats. And thinking about stuff like Fear of the Old Blood, I'm sitting here going, I gotta go see what Super Butter Buns has been into. Okay, so it's up there. Okay. So we weren't supposed to go in there anyways. It's up here. Okay, I thought it was going to be the tower, but oh, nope, the tower's farther away anyways. Thing. The cinder vessel broke down during testing. The rat I used inside was charred by the coalescent flame. A bright flash, then nothing. Thankfully, the side effect of blindness was only temporary. I've acquired a new subject, another rat, Igni. Hopefully our path to salvation. I cannot accept more setbacks. I will ensure that the cinder vessel holds as if my life depended on it. It may well, Balthazar. Oh, there is a okay, so that's not just a block mechanic, that's a parry mechanic. So we've got like proper parry mechanics in this too. Cool. Okay, it's inside. Got you. I like that the parry is a lot faster. Instead of the absolutely infuriating parry of regular Souls-likes. I forgot to loot this guy. Where are you? That's a nice snappy parry. There we go. Ah! This is definitely Souls-like. They do so much damage. Most definitely Souls-like with how much damage they do. And unfortunately, we're at the end of the stream. So we didn't get to find out what we were looking for. But we did at least reach it. But I'm afraid that has to be it for the night. My interest has been piqued though. I will not be trying any of our extra streams this week, so it'll just be Friday. In the meantime though, I thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a great week. And I will see you in the next stream. Be safe and have a good week.